In 2004, Mason Hamlin will celebrate its 150th anniversary. It's been an incredible 150 years, with prize-winning instruments, design innovations, respect within the industry, endorsements from the most famous virtuosos of the day, and instruments that have been prized by generations of piano owners. This is the Mason and Hamlin story. In 1854, two brilliant idealists, Henry Mason and Emmons Hamlin, founded the Mason and Hamlin Organ Company in Boston, Massachusetts. Henry Mason was a musician. He was a pianist and a member of a renowned musical family. His brother William was one of America's foremost classical pianists and composers. Their father was the famous composer and educator Lowell Mason, a visionary who was the first to bring music into the public schools of America. He was also known throughout the world as a composer and publisher of hymns, and is often called the father of American church music. Emmons Hamlin, on the other hand, was not a musician, but a brilliant mechanic and inventor. He invented a way to voice organ reeds so that they could imitate the sound of a clarinet, a violin, or other musical instruments. Hamlin developed his discovery to perfection, and in 1854, he and Henry Mason formed their company for the purpose of manufacturing a new musical instrument that they called the organ harmonium. From the organ harmonium, they graduated to the American cabinet organ, a product that would earn Mason and Hamlin first prize at the Paris exhibition of 1867. It wasn't long before Mason and Hamlin had established a worldwide reputation for excellence. In 1881, the company decided to branch out into making pianos. Wisely, it hired brilliant designers and skilled piano builders to make Mason and Hamlin pianos. Among the designers was Richard W. Gertz, a genius who contributed many innovations to the piano industry. Among them were the duplex scale and the tension resonator, a remarkable device that was designed to maintain the crown of the soundboard for the life of a piano. With Mason and Hamlin's innovations, use of only the finest materials, and expert craftsmanship, their pianos were accepted as instruments of the highest order and took their place among the greatest pianos of the Golden Age. By the turn of the century, the golden age of the piano was in full force, and the most famous concert artists of the day aligned themselves with piano manufacturers. Mason and Hamlin was at the forefront, and the great virtuosos performed regularly on Mason and Hamlin pianos. In 1909, Etude magazine reported on Mason and Hamlin artist Harold Bauer, the only piano virtuoso who was originally a concert violinist. Bauer made his debut at the age of 10. After many years of touring as a violinist, he went to Paris and studied piano for a year with the great Paderewski. Although Bauer maintained his interest in the violin, he had such great technical ability as a pianist and such a remarkable gift for interpretation on the piano that it became his instrument. The brand of piano he preferred was Mason and Hamlin. The Mason and Hamlin pianos, he wrote, represent the most perfect example of a piano maker's art. They are the most supremely beautiful instruments that I know. Bauer wasn't alone in his love for Mason and Hamlin's. The great composer Maurice Ravel said of them, "While preserving all the qualities of the percussion instrument, the Mason and Hamlin pianoforte also serves magnificently the composer's concept by its extensive range in dynamics as well as quality of tone. It is not short of being a small orchestra. In my opinion, the Mason and Hamlin is a real work of art." The noted Chopin specialist Alexander Berlovsky testified, "As the piano is supreme among musical instruments, so I think the Mason and Hamlin is supreme among pianos." Osip Gabrilowitsch, the noted Russian-American pianist and conductor, said, "The Mason and Hamlin pianos are remarkable. They are, in my opinion, in advance of all others. I've never been so completely satisfied with any piano as I have been with the Mason and Hamlin." Great pianists weren't the only artists endorsing Mason and Hamlin pianos. Many of the opera world's greatest stars spoke on their behalf. Anna Case was an American-born singer who debuted with the Metropolitan Opera at the age of 20 and sang her first solo role 6 months later. Case was, in fact, the first American singer at the Met who had no European training or international reputation. She was a brilliant star there and remained at the Opera House from 1909 until 1920. During her incredible career, she endorsed the Mason and Hamlin piano. One of the world's most famous violinists was the American Yehudi Menuhin. In 1924, at the age of 7, Menuhin made his public debut. At the age of 10, his brilliant international career was launched in Paris. The child prodigy astounded the classical world with his artistry, and in 1935 he undertook his first world tour, playing in 73 cities in 13 countries. The Mason and Hamlin archives include many letters from Menuhin extolling the virtues of his Mason and Hamlin pianos. At one time, he had 3 in his California home, one for himself, one for his sister, and one for his accompanist. He once wrote, "Among all pianos, none compares with the Mason and Hamlin in beauty and grace of tone, or in mellowness and softness, and yet in bigness, or in anything that a sensitive and, as it were, human piano should have." Without a doubt, the world's greatest cellist was Pablo Casals. Mason and Hamlin is proud of his endorsement. "I am convinced of the superiority of your instruments in their purely musical quality of tone, their artistic appeal, and in short, qualities that the true musicians seek in any musical instrument." Casals' longtime collaborator was violinist Jacques Thibault, who said of Mason and Hamlin, "I know of no others of such beautiful sonority. The qualities of Mason and Hamlin pianos are those of my dear Stradivarius."